The New York Jets got some news today. Breaking news. Dante Moore is returning back to Oregon for another season of college football and spurning the NFL draft and ultimately the New York Jets at number 2 in this upcoming draft. I'm Ryan Sampson. That's Frankie Vittorini from U Stadium. Today is January 14th. Well, Jets fans and NFL draft fans, if you guys are hopping in here in the live stream, hit us up with your responses, your reactions. We're interested to see what all your guys' reactions are. I know Frankie and I are going to discuss our reaction to Dante Moore returning to another year for college. It's something we discussed on yesterday's episode of Gangs All here with Brian Costello. Kaz might join us in a little bit here to give his reaction. But I'll start off right there, Frankie, with your instant analysis of Dante Moore deciding to go back for another year of college football instead of the draft.
I mean, man, it was a bit of a stunner due to the fact that he was projected to go second overall. I mean, some scouts had him, in the running to even be the first overall pick. So you think about the guaranteed money that he's leaving behind. How much higher is he going to be in terms of his status coming into a draft than he is that'll be this year? Is he going to be a top 2 or 3 pick next year? Probably not, considering that quarterback class looks pretty stacked. So there's a high likelihood that he's not even going to be considered in the running to be a top 5 pick next year. So what does this tell me? This tells me that Dante Moore sat down with his camp, with his coaches, with his family, agency, etc., and they discussed the things that he needs to do to get better and the things that can eventually develop him into the kind of quarterback that he probably wants to be. I do think that we saw a lot of things in that game versus Indiana that were alarming, and a little bit of NIL money never hurt nobody, right? So I'm sure he's looking at Ryan's, $7.5 to $10 million on a 1 year there to go back to Oregon. He'll be the guy. A lot of media will be on him. Hey, maybe he has a great year and he's the first overall pick next year. It's not out of the possibility. But overall, this doesn't usually happen. I don't remember the last time I can remember a quarterback that's slated to go in the top 2. No chance he would have fell outside the top 10 and choose not to come out, especially when you have that guaranteed money lined up. So I was a bit shocked, man. I won't lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I think for me, I was expecting just because there's so many alarming stats when you look at it, Frankie, with quarterbacks with 20 or less starts in their career in college. And Dante falls in that category with the Ryan Tannehills, Cam Newtons of the world, Kyler Murray, and some of the bad names you hear even worse than that. Like, it's an alarming list to be a part of if he chose to come out in the draft. And look, ultimately, as a Jets fan, I was not thoroughly impressed with Dante Moore. I know I can't really say, what do you know, Ryan? Like, you've watched a couple of games of Dante Moore in the college football playoffs and towards the end of the season. Like, how can you make an actual assessment of this guy? Look, when it comes to quarterback evaluation, it's the hardest thing in all of sports, I would argue, to find the right quarterback for your team. But when you're talking about a lame duck head coach who came off the worst season you could argue in Jets history, and the fact that the Jets do not have the development system in place, in my opinion, when it terms of a young offensive coordinator who's only going into his second season, a quarterback coach who is a running back coach for the majority of his career, was a former running back in Charles London, and a head coach who really has no ties of developing or history of developing a quarterback. This kid needs time to develop. And good on him for deciding to go back for another year of college experience. He needed the experience, in my opinion. And this doesn't force the Jets' hand at 2, Frankie, to say we have to take Dante Moore. Kaz had a great line yesterday, and I encourage all Jets fans to go back and watch yesterday's episode. He said, I would imagine the Jets, if Dante Moore declared he was coming to the draft today, the Jets would have squinted their eyes at the development, at the tools, at the prospect itself, and said, you know what, we have to take the quarterback here because pressure is on Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji to right the ship. And they have to get this draft right because the next 2 years with 5 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, the Jets have to nail these classes. So if they forced the pick at 2, Frankie, with Dante Moore, a lot of pressure would have been on that pick to develop and be a superstar quarterback. I'm glad the Jets are not going to be forcing that pick now at number 2.
Perfectly said, Ryan, and I could not agree more. I think the Jets potentially dodged a major, major bullet here because we discussed it on the show yesterday. Like Ryan said, I thought it was one of our best pods of the year, honestly. Well, it was our best pod of the year, 2026, but, of the football season. I think we dodged a major bullet. And like I said on the pod, he reminds me a lot of Zach Wilson. And I think we would have gotten into a Zach Wilson 2.0 situation if we would have drafted Dante Moore second overall. He needs more time. He's erratic in the pocket. Does he have a great arm? Absolutely. Did Zach Wilson have a great arm? Yes, he does. They both have great arms. But playing quarterback's a lot more than just a zip you got throwing those out routes or throwing these post corners. You got to be able to do the other things. And you have to lead. A lot of people look at his personality. Dante Moore seems like a more low-key guy, not too rah-rah. He doesn't really, on the field, you don't really see much energy from him. Might be his personality. Some guys are more calm and collective when they're playing their respective sports. I think we need somebody that's going to come in and really be a locker room presence and change the energy at one Jets drive and change the vibe around the team. Mendoza would have been perfect. He's still in play. It's not crazy, but likely not. But I agree with you, Ryan. I totally do. I think we dodged a major bullet. Also, Aaron Glenn wouldn't have sat this kid the full year. I really think this kid needs to sit a full season. At least 8 games. At least. Would Aaron Glenn let this kid sit? And don't think Aaron Glenn would say to Woody Johnson, hey, maybe my job's not in jeopardy. I got this shining piece right here. Look at this prop of Dante Moore. Let me play him for a few games. If he were to flash a little bit, and sometimes rookies do, the tape's not out, they can come in and play well for a few games. That might have swayed maybe Woody to maybe keep Glenn for all the all the anti-Glenn people. It would have been a bargaining chip for Aaron Glenn. Right now, we don't have that situation. Right now, the Jets got to look elsewhere because drafting a quarterback second overall, not going to happen. You're not drafting Ty Simpson second overall. You're not drafting Trinidad Chambliss second overall. You're just not. And there's nobody else really that's projected to go in on day 1 or 2 at this point. So,
yeah. Did you get a chance, Frankie, to listen to Mel Kiper on DiPietro and Rothenberg yesterday on ESPN Radio?
I have not.
Mel, who I listen, I grew up watching Mel Kiper. I still respect most of his opinions, especially on the quarterback eval. He's usually right in majority of the time on these guys. Look, he had Dante Moore still as his. Usually he is, Frankie. He's been pretty right on a lot of these guys. I know people have questioned his evaluations.
Yeah, Jimmy Clausen, like you're right. He's good.
Frankie, I think that's where people get a little ridiculous here. It's like, you're never going to be 100% correct on all of these quarterback evals. And it is the hardest position to evaluate in all of sports. But he had Dante Moore still as his number 1 prospect, even before this news came down, before Fernando Mendoza. He liked him more as a quarterback prospect, but he mentioned yesterday in the show, again, talking about the possibility of him going back to college. He said, look, if I were Dante and I were advising him, he said, I would go back. He needs the experience. He needs to show, he needs to develop more of the skills. Yes, he's playing a risk in Dante Moore and deciding to go back because he is playing the Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller game, where the guys were both thought of as first-round picks in last year's class before deciding to go back for another year at Penn State and LSU respectively. And now we've seen how it's affected their draft stock coming off really, really down years. Now they're going to be mid-round picks, late-round picks, and those are quarterbacks now. I think Jets fans have to start getting themselves familiarized with, Frankie, not just Trinidad Chambliss or Ty Simpson. Get used to Nussmeier. Get used to Drew Aller, because those guys are going to be up in the Senior Bowl. They're going to be in the Combine, and those are the guys I'm sure the Jets are going to be scouting heavily and figuring out, can we take a swing on them in the mid-rounds to bring in with a bridge quarterback, a veteran that's going to be starting day 1. Get this, though. The Jets will not be drafting a quarterback to start day 1 for them next year. That is bottom line, not going to happen this draft, Frankie. And now they can truly focus on building the rest of this team out. It's something we talked about with Kaz again yesterday of who do you take at number 2 if Dante Moore doesn't come out? Now that's the fascinating question. Now you really get to play best player available, because this team needs a lot of playmakers and a lot of talent.
Yeah. We're not drafting our day 1 starter come April 23rd. That's just not happening. So for anyone out there that thinks we were going to find a quarterback via the draft, that's not going to happen in 2026. And I think this scenario played out best for us. I really do, Ryan. We spoke about it yesterday. You agreed with me, right? For the most part. Fill out the roster needs. There's a bunch of players at 2 that I like. Now, it's unfortunate because the players that I like at 2, you can also make a point should go 8, 9, or 10. So this year, 2 isn't really a great pick this year. You could argue 2 is just like 8 or 7. But there are a few players that I really like. We'll get into it in the offseason. I could throw some stuff in, though. Obviously, I like Ruben Bain a ton. A ton. The thing with Ruben Bain does have the short arms, isn't your prototypical outside, lean, fast, aggressive. He is aggressive, lean, fast, smooth, bendy edge. He's not that. He's a little stiff, but he's strong and he's aggressive, and he does have a killer dip, but he's got the short arms. Some people project him out to be a Justin Tuck kind of D end or JFM, that he could play on the outside, but also play a little bit on the inside in that 3-tech. The other guy that I like for us, even more than Bain, is Jordan Tyson. Now, drafting him second overall is going to be high, but that kid is a mold of Justin Jefferson and JSN. You kind of had a hybrid of those two together. If they met in the middle and mashed, you get yourself Jordan Tyson. So I like him at 2. Again, any pick at 2 is going to be a reach in this draft. So we have to understand that. Jordan Tyson, I'm not looking at like Calvin Johnson that got drafted that high. However, there's nobody really else. You have the kid David Bailey, the edge, that Nick from U Stadium really likes, and a lot of people like. Super freakish on the outside. So he's another edge player. But listen, if I'm the Jets, draft an edge, Bain or Bailey, or Tyson I would draft. Or if you want to go with Tate, maybe. But I think Tate doesn't do enough underneath. And he's
a great deep threat.
Great deep threat, absolutely.
Something the Jets have desperately needed. A big play-time wide receiver like that.
Yeah.
He could be your T. Higgins. He could be your T. Higgins to Garrett Wilson's Jamar Chase. I'm not saying Garrett Wilson's Jamar Chase, but you know what I mean. It's that formula where Garrett Wilson loves operating out of the slot. He loves operating in the middle of the field, close to the sidelines. He's not a deep threat. If you get a guy who can extend the field like a tight, I think, like you said, the kid from Arizona State, he could be that. But I also think Carnell Tate can be the guy that takes the top off defenses and can be truly a great playmaker. But the bottom line is, Frankie, and this is something I want to bring up one of these comments here from the guys in the chat. Keep going, guys and gals. Keep sending comments. We're reading all these right now. JR Night Rain said this: I'm happy he stayed with that horrible performance. Now we should trade down and get defensive player and wide receiver in the first round. What do you think, Frankie, of the possibility of the Jets trading down from number 2? I don't know if there's an appetite there for other teams to want to trade up to 2. What exactly would a team want to go risk more picks to get up to 2 if there's no quarterback there? Am I crazy to think that way?
No, you're not. The other thing is this, too. We have 5 first-round picks already. You're going to, get maybe another one or another second? Like, it's just a weird situation to be in. We're not even projecting out, and we've spoken about this on our shows. We're not even projecting that the Jets are going to make all those selections of those 5 first-rounders, that they might use some of those as bargain, to bargain up, to negotiate up in a trade. So I don't know. Listen, ideally, it makes sense to me. I mean, if there's a team that really wants an offensive lineman, let's say, this kid out of Miami, the right tackle, who's a beast, by the way, maybe a team wants him and you trade a few spots back, you could end up with Tate or Tyson. You'll recover maybe a second rounder. I think that makes sense. But like, going down into the first round, that you're drafting 16 and 33 when you have all these first rounders already packed up in a bunch of seconds, kind of doesn't make too much sense to me. But yeah, you have to see who kind of shapes out in that number 2 spot. It may be Bain, it may be Moaga, the tackle I'm just talking about. It may be Carnell Tate. So we'll see kind of how things kind of move as the process plays out. But I'll say this: I think the Jets right now, this was in their best interest.
I agree completely.
Yeah. There's no bailouts. There's no, we're going to wait, give us more time. No, you got the picks. You don't have the sure thing quarterback in this draft. Fill out the roster, do BPA, get some quality players, and move on. And look at free agency for a starter if you want, or if not,
trade for one.
Yeah, that's it, right?
But
that's
take a swing.
Really do.
They're definitely going to take a swing at a quarterback in this draft, no matter what. There's no way there's no way the Jets, and this is to all Jets fans, there's no way they're going to go into this draft and not take at least a quarterback somewhere in this draft. It could be in the second round at 33. It could be if someone falls, like a Ty Simpson, let's say he falls out of love of fans of these teams and he ends up being that first quarterback taken in the second round. Trinidad Chambliss, he could fall out of the first round. If he doesn't win his lawsuit against the NCAA and doesn't get that extra year of eligibility, he's still not technically in the draft yet. So there's still a lot to play out, but this was the big big shoe to drop, Frank, in terms of where the hell the Jets were going to go at 2 and with the future of their quarterback position. So now Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji have a very, very tough task in front of them. They still have to find a quarterback. They still have to build this team and make it a competitive product, because you cannot, and I want to repeat this, Frankie, you cannot go into 2026 with another deadbeat quarterback like Justin Fields at in your position group, say he's your starter, and then have a bunch of players on the team that you really don't know and guys that aren't talented and aren't good.
Yeah.
They have to be competitive. They have to show that they are having progress as a team and building forward. So I just think right now, Frankie, the Jets ultimately, they have to nail these first 2 picks in the first round. I wouldn't force that quarterback spot at 16. I know Simpson's enticing. I think, like you said,
Yeah.
best player available. Take some playmakers to get this team in the right spot.
Yeah, there's one player that a lot of fans like that I personally would shy away from when it came to the Jets. And that player at 2, that's Arvell Reese. And I'll explain why in as succinctly as I can. He's very good at a lot of things. He's not great at one thing. He plays outside linebacker. He plays a little edge. He plays inside linebacker. They even put him on the outside. They made him like an in-the-box safety and like a slot corner sometimes. He plays everywhere. He's that athletic. I want a guy, if you're going to draft him second, that's going to put his hand in the dirt and get after the quarterback when you need that to happen on a third down. Ruben Bain can do that, and so can David Bailey. Arvell Reese is like an Isaiah Simmons kind of player. He could do everything, but there's not something I look at on tape and I'm like, he's going to hang his hat on that in the NFL. We saw the same thing with Deion Jordan. He kind of was a tweener. He could play here, play there. I like a guy for us that can just put his hand in the dirt and get to the quarterback if you're going to draft an outside edge or an out linebacker, because we don't have that right now. Jermaine's not getting to the quarterback. Will McDonald doesn't spurt. So, like, we need someone. Jermaine is on his 5th year. Will McDonald, they're going to have to decide, before free agency on his option. So, like, yeah, I'd want an edge, but I want a real edge. I don't want like a tweener that you don't know where he plays. And sometimes those guys don't work out. So I would steer away from Arvell Reese. I know why people like him, but like, if you want to get a linebacker that can help out back there a little bit, look at his partner in crime in Sonny Styles, maybe later on in the first at 16. Or if you want to move up from 33, if he drops, we'll see. But that's someone that I like more for the Jets out of that Ohio State defense than I do Arvell Reese. We were speaking about Arvell Reese on the show yesterday, and Kyle's had brought up his other buddy there, and Caleb Downs. He's interesting now. Again, there's not going to be a pick at 2. That's not going to be considered a reach. So Caleb Downs should be a guy that goes, like 8 to 13, 14, something like that. But in this draft, like I just said, you're going to have guys that you can justify that are picked 7th that in this draft could have been picked 2nd and vice versa. So just consider that.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider. It does put a lot more criticism into that number 2 pick. That guy does have to be a starter right away and making an immediate impact. Arvell Reese, his tools are loud and they are fun and tantalizing, and something like, man, could that be our Micah Parsons or like that to me is where you get really like excited. Like, ooh, could Arvell Reese be a guy you look at? I do want to bring in a guy, Frankie, that I think can help us talk a little bit more about the Dante Moore decision. Let's bring in our Jets beat writer and Gangs All Here co-host, Mr. Brian Costello. Cos, it's 2 days in a row, I should say, of us bringing you on here talking about the Jets. We got the decision, and Dante Moore is deciding to return to Oregon for another year of college football and not going to the draft. What was your reaction to hearing that news?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've talked about it. It wasn't a slam dunk. So I don't think this is the end of the world for the Jets, but it's also fitting the Jets get the number 2 pick in a draft that has one quarterback. I mean, how many years have we seen? Oh, there's 3 quarterbacks. There's 4. A couple years ago, there was like, 5 or 6 in the draft, and the Jets get the draft where there's one quarterback. So,
and nobody else really at second overall, Kazi, you can look at. Like, there's no Jamar Chase or Myles Garrett or something like that either.
I mean, look, they're going to find good players, guys. There's going to be good players in the draft. It'll work out in that regard, but I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. But again, we talked about that a long time the other day. If they drafted Dante Moore, he probably wasn't ready to play this season, maybe late in the season. but it wasn't like this was Peyton Manning going back to school in 1997, where you saw a generational quarterback slipping through your fingers. So they have the 3 picks in 2027. They can do something there, but I mean, it feels very Jets like right now.
It does. It feels very bleak. The thing that I want to ask you now, Kaz, and this is something Frankie wanted to bring up. It's the whole question that we asked you with the Todd McShay. Do you think that the Jets staring down the barrel at 2 that could have influenced Dante Moore's decision here to go back to school?
I don't. I think this decision was probably made after the way he played Friday night against Indiana, right? I think that um, he probably heard from people that he needs more. You talk to everyone, and they're like, "This guy could benefit from more time in school." And I'm sure he heard that from people, and you know, I think he probably made a good decision for himself. I think go back. They're going to be a national championship contender next season. They're a great program. He won't have 20 starts. He'll have 30 starts or whatever after next season. And he can be in next year's draft. And I get there's more quarterbacks in next year's draft, but you don't know. You don't know how it's going to work out. And if you have confidence in yourself, I'm sure he thinks he's better than Arch Manning. And he'll go prove that. So, like we've talked about, Garrett Nussmeier was the number 1 quarterback at this time last year projected for this draft. So you don't know. You don't know how it's going to work out. I don't think it was Jets related. I just really don't. We can talk about it. We've talked about it before. The teams that are going to be in the top 5 next year, guess what, guys? They're not going to be good football teams.
No,
they're going to be bad teams unless the Rams trade up or something crazy like that. But the guys who get the top 5 picks are going to be bad teams, and there's going to be other versions of the Jets, or maybe the Jets themselves, in the top 5 next year for him to deal with.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see on social media right now, Cause there's a lot of melting down going on. There's a ton of
you know
that.
what? Like, why? Like, the melting down, I don't get necessarily, because was anyone like saying this is the guy? Like, there's no doubt.
No, I think we dodged a bullet, Cause I think we might have dodged a bullet, in my opinion.
That's my reaction too.
I won't go that far because
Yeah.
I think he could be a good quarterback, but I don't think this was Peyton Manning going back to school, or Andrew Luck going back to school. Like, this wasn't a guy who you're like, oh my God, this guy's going to be a surefire franchise quarterback, and he just slipped through our fingers. So, yeah, I get everything on social media as a meltdown or a celebration. So, but I don't think it's that big of a deal that people should be melting down over this.
Look, we're getting a lot of comments in the live chat right now about this right now. And Kaz, I think this is a pretty good question leading up to, does this decision from Dante Moore ultimately give Woody the chance to give Glenn and Muji more leeway going into this year, now that they're not forcing that pick at 2, like we talked about yesterday, and giving kind of that extra lever for Glenn to pull this season if they had drafted Moore at 2?
In terms of job security, is that?
Yeah, in terms of job security.
Yeah, I don't think it does anything with the job security. I do think, I think Glenn might have benefited more if he had the quarterback there and could point to it at the end of the season and say, like, let's say they went 6-11, right? And Moore played the last, I don't know, 9 games and won 4 of them, and you felt all right, there's something there. Then I think Glenn has a good argument for coming back in 2027. Now you don't have that. Now, it's going to come down to wins and losses anyway, but I don't think this really drastically affects his job security.
It's certainly fascinating. I think, Kaz, the other thing is, do they look at 16 and say, maybe we take the quarterback there no matter what, if it's like a Ty Simpson? Or again, are they just going to go into this mindset now that it's such a limited class, it's just best player available for the first couple picks, and then we'll address quarterback in the later rounds?
I don't think it's ever no matter what, Ryan. I don't think that's a very good way to operate. So, but I do think now you're talking 16, 33, and 44, right? Are the 3 picks? Mm-hmm. You're thinking of those 3 picks, and is there a quarterback with one of those picks? I'd be surprised if there wasn't a quarterback taken with one of those 3 picks coming out of this. Well, again, there's a long way to go till April, but I would think, we'll see with Simpson. We'll see what happens with Chambliss, if he ends up in the draft and where he's rated. I think there's a possibility with those 3 picks.
Kaz, I'm looking at, we spoke about this yesterday. By the way, we'll say it again for all the listeners. If you didn't check out the pod yesterday, it was a very good one, in my opinion. But Kaz, free agency, right? Again, Darren Muji said, and Glenn, that they're going to exhaust all resources for quarterback. This draft class will be not the place you're going to exhaust all your resources because there's not really much to work with there. Free agency, do you think the Jets will go heavy? I have a feeling they will, or do you think it'll happen via trade? What's kind of your gut telling you there, or it's too early?
It's too early to know, but I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think they'll have at least two guys, one from the draft, and then one from veteran, either free agency or trade.
Yeah.
I think it could be three guys, like we saw with the Giants did this year, or back 2018, the Jets did with Teddy Bridgewater, Josh McCown, Sam Darnold, something like that. It wouldn't shock me if there's three guys in here for training camp, but I think it'll be at least two. I think they'll definitely draft one, and I think then there's going to be one veteran in here.
You know, it's one fascinating thing, Kaz, is I was talking to Frankie about Mel Kiper. I was listening to him on DPH and Rothenberg yesterday, and he talked about Chambliss and Ty Simpson. Now that those two guys are considered 2 and 3 ultimately in this class for him, he says they could be forced up into that first round, and the Jets could take them at 16 or 33. I don't know. Like, that was what he said yesterday. Yeah. Like, that's interesting considering he was also of the belief that he believes that Dante Moore should have gone back. And now we get the news that he did go back.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks always get forced up, right? That's the way the draft works, just because there isn't 32 of them on the planet that can play the position. It's unbelievable how hard the position is to play. So they'll get forced up. Chambliss would be shocking to me to be the first round, because that's, if we had talked about this 3 weeks ago, you would have been talking about him on day 3. So I think he's already been kind of forced up into the day 2 conversation. And Frankie talked about it yesterday. Does he go out and run a great 40 time? Impress at the combine? Does he do that? But, Simpson was a guy who I thought, for most of the year we were talking first round. So it wouldn't shock me if he's a first round pick. But guys always get pushed up from where they're talking about in December and January.
Kaz, it's crazy to think about it this way, though, looking at what the guaranteed money was going to be for Dante Moore. And you could argue his stock will never be higher, really, than it is right now. I can't remember the last time a quarterback projected to go in the top 2 really decided to go back. It's interesting, right? I mean, and sure enough, it happens to us. And I'm sure Dante Moore is going to be a fantastic quarterback down the line in the NFL. You know how the storylines are going to go, everyone. I'm just saying.
He might end up with the Jets next year.
That's true.
You don't know.
That boat may have sailed, by the way.
He's betting on himself, right? He's betting on himself that he can go out and have a great year and be a top quarterback in the draft next year. So, I don't know. I don't remember Andrew Luck, like how that played out, but Andrew Luck ended up playing. Right, he went back to school, but I don't remember him ever being kind of in the conversation for a year. The Peyton one was dramatic. I mean, you guys were 2 years old at that time, but the Peyton one was dramatic. Like there was a press conference in Knoxville in March where he declared that he was going back to school. So that one's the one that sticks out of my brain. But Andrew Luck went back to school, so I just don't remember how that played out.
Well, how about that? Dante Moore goes on ESPN to announce that he's returning to school. It's crazy that like this is what the buildup is, but it's just because look, the talent is there, but there really is no one else in this class besides Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. So, Kaz, I do want to ask you. So a lot of the fans, I think, like Frankie and myself, are reacting to that the dodging of the bullet because of the fact that we don't trust this current regime to develop the quarterback. And I know that's that word you don't like, develop. Ryan, it's all about, if the player has it or not, right? Like if I'm listening to you correctly, look, Dante Moore has the skill set that we think that a lot of people would love to have as a quarterback, but I think the experience isn't there, and coaching him up into the right system, I think does matter. So do you, are we crazy to believe that we don't believe in this coaching staff to really take a Dante Moore type prospect and build him into a reliable starter?
I do think he needs seasoning, right? I mean, he's a 20 start guy, so I don't think he's going to walk in the door and play immediately. I don't think we know about the coaching staff, Ryan. I really don't. I think we need more time to see it. It wasn't like, I mean, when we talked about Justin Fields, It was a lottery ticket. We described it as a lottery ticket, and most lottery tickets you end up throwing in the garbage, right? You don't hit, and they didn't hit on it. Is that all on the coaching staff? No. Is it some on the coaching staff? Probably. They may have been able to do better things for him. I think it's more than the coaching staff, Ryan. Is there a good structure around the quarterback to win? Because to me, that's what I see more than anything. I think if you have the skill set to play quarterback in the NFL, you need good people around you. You need good receivers. You need a good offensive line. You need a good play caller. And if you have those things, most quarterbacks look better in those systems. Like we talk about Sam Darnold all the time. I think, Sam needed that stuff around him. I don't think you can put Sam Darnold on the Chargers right now. Like I just saw the Chargers play, right? And all their flaws. And Sam Darnold's going to win 14 games with the Chargers. Like he's going to be better than Justin Herbert. Sam needs to be in a system with good players around them and a good offensive play caller. Good defense helps too. And so, that to me is the bigger thing than the development word. I think we're talking about the same thing in a lot of regards.
Yeah.
I just prefer it. I think it's just the structure around the player more.
So I hear you on the structure, and sorry, Frankie, if we're going to follow up here. The structure, I would say, though, too, is are we overvaluing what the structure of the Jets are we undervaluing or overvaluing what the current structure of the Jets is, right? Like, we know they have the two young tackles that we all like, but they haven't proven to be obviously top 5 tackles in the game. We like Garrett Wilson a lot. We like if Breece Hall returns with that stable of running backs. Frankie loves Tanner Engstrand. I wouldn't say I love with him yet, but do they have the right pieces, you would say, or should we really invest more into that group and find more talent to put in that?
Yeah, they need more. I think, I think another receiver is huge. I think you could probably upgrade a guard spot, possibly, or, I think you'd like what you saw from the offensive line. I don't think this is the Detroit Lions yet or anything like that. I like if they bring Breece back. I think they've got a pretty good running back room, and we'll see about Engstrand. So yeah, I'm not 100% sold on what they have around. I think they need to keep building it up. And also, guys, like I kind of mentioned, defense helps, right? Like we saw Mark Sanchez, right? Everyone remembers Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez benefited greatly from how good that defense was. Totally. Like they were just shutting teams down, and then if you actually get takeaways and give the offense the ball to the yard line and that kind of thing, that helps a young quarterback. So, I know when we talk about quarterback, where we focus on receivers and line, the Jets need to improve this defense, because I think that really hurt the quarterback play this year, is that if you're constantly getting the ball in your own territory and having to drive 80 yards down the field and you're playing from behind, what was Samini's stat? You're playing, they were trailing by double digits, 53% of the snaps. Like that's incredible. That's very hard for any quarterback to do. So yeah, I think they'll just lift the entire team. That will help whoever the quarterback is eventually.
Yeah, and Kaz, you're spot on there. Rye, look at the teams in the playoffs that are left. Look at some of the defenses. The Broncos, we had spoken about them. They were on pace to break the sack record at a point. Phenomenal defense. The Texans, amazing defense. One of the best defenses I've seen in years they're playing out there. Patriots have a really good defense too. Seahawks, one of the best defenses in football. Salah's 49er defense. He's done arguably one of the best jobs out of any defensive coordinator this year. The Bears led the league in takeaways, and the Rams with the young Shula kid, he's been running a great defense there. So defense matters, man. I mean, let's not get it twisted. We're so far away from some of these teams we see playing defense on Sundays and Saturdays during this time of year that we got to bring in some talent there. I think this allows the Jets, because I don't think, and Kaz, feel free to disagree with Ryan, but we're not a quarterback away, and we're definitely not a young quarterback away. It's just there was this was always about, for me, with the quarterback in 2027. And I think now with 3 first-rounders, then it looks like that might be the way to go. I would take a flyer on Trinidad Chambliss. I think he'd be really good for that room. Let him win the job, though. I think this is the good thing about Dante Moore not being drafted here. For at least the next year, we can say, unless they're going to pay Malik Willis and just proclaim him the starter, give him the Justin Fields special there. But if they don't do that, there's going to have to be a quarterback that's going to win the job, not just be handed it, or we're going to have a plan for you of 8 games, Dante, and you're going to come in, week 9. This allows the competition to breed the best. I think it'll be a good thing. I don't think Dante Moore was good enough anyway, outside of all this convo. I just don't.
Can I give you some hope?
Sure.
Please.
Positive
We need it.
cause.
We need
Positive
it.
cause here. Right. I'm going to write something to this effect too. So what's been the best quarterback year for the Jets in the last 15 years?
15.
In the drought. Fitzpatrick. Yeah. When we were sitting here in January of 2015, were you going, hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to lead us to 10 wins this season, and he's going to set the franchise record for touchdowns in the season with 31. No, they made a trade for Fitzpatrick in March that, it made headlines because it was a quarterback, but it wasn't a seismic move. He was viewed as being traded as to be the backup for Geno. That's what the move was viewed as. And training camp, the job was Geno's. And then IK and Polly got mad about his debt and punched him in the face. And the course of the season was changed. But my point is, nobody saw that coming. So that's what the Jets need. The Jets need a Fitzpatrick 2.0. Is that guy out there somewhere? Can, Case Keenum come in here and have a great season? And the long-term answer is not arriving this year, but can they get somebody that just kind of can get you through 2026 and have some good moments? And Fitz almost got you to the playoffs, got you on the doorstep. But so, that would be my argument against the doom and gloom today.
Yeah. Kaz is giving us hope with Ryan Fitzpatrick, Kaz.
Maybe Fitz could come out of the booth. Phillip Rivers
with his shirt off. Yeah.
They need something. And they need something fast. But we'll see what happens. Kaz, we appreciate you hopping on here, man, and giving us your feedback. And we're looking forward to talking to you soon as we figure out, and I'm sure the Jets are trying to figure out now and plan what the quarterback position is going to be. Thanks, Kaz.
All right, guys.
Later, Kaz.
That was Brian Costello, our Jets beat writer from the New York Post, joining us here to give his reaction to Dante Moore returning to Oregon. In case Jets fans haven't noticed, I do want to play this clip, Frankie, of Dante Moore explaining his decision to return to school. He was on ESPN. Let me see if I can get this clip to play.
Yeah, of course. First things first, I have to give glory to God for, of course, letting me be on this platform I am, the blessings he's given me. Yeah, this past year was a year that I remember for the rest of my life. Just my teammates, the adversity we went through, and just the way being able to, as a kid, to play in the semifinals. And, of course, the year didn't end the way you wanted to end. And, of course, you got to give your kudos and credit to Indiana. But, yeah, with this decision, mainly all my life, it's kind of just been, being as most prepared as I can for any situation I go into. And when it comes to me just making my decision, of course, I want to feel most prepared and, this is best for my situation, especially as a quarterback. And with my decision, it's been very tough. I prayed a lot about it, talked to many people, my mentors and people I just look up to. And with that being said, of course, I'll be coming back to Oregon for one more year and being able to play for the Oregon Ducks and, of course, reach our goal and be national champions.
So look, that's Dante Moore. That's his decision. He's going back to Oregon. He wants to get more experience, be prepared for the best for him in his future. And like I said, and like Frankie said, this was actually, I think, a bullet dodged for the Jets, not forcing the pick with Dante Moore at 2 and not putting themselves in a bind of this is our quarterback of the future and forcing this development. I want to go back to the development word, Frankie, because this is something I think I fundamentally disagree with Kaz, and it's fine. I agree to an extent about the talent part and surrounding a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, with as much support of offensive line help and giving him good weapons outside. That absolutely matters, and that's how they hurt Sam Darnold big time. But Sam Darnold, I think, had the talent, and we all knew that.
Absolutely.
I think Dante Moore has not shown nearly as enough, in my opinion, as Sam Darnold did in college. So that's why he needed to go back and prove himself and prove to the world that, hey, I'm a really good quarterback and I can be a Sam Darnold-like prospect. When you're taking someone like Dante Moore, if he only comes out with 20 starts, you have to be very patient with him. You have to sit and learn and help him learn the NFL game. He's not coming from a system that's very pro favorable where he's running the offense, he's calling adjustments, the line of scrimmage. He's the head honcho. It's not that. The college game has changed tremendously in terms of coming from college offense to a professional style offense. So I just think it would have been a very tough situation for Aaron Glenn to say, yeah, we're going to draft this kid at number 2 and really have to have him sit. He had to get the Mahomes treatment where he sat for 15 games for the season and played in the last game of the year. That's the only time you really could have said, yeah, that's when we can play you, Dante, in a game, because I don't think he was ready. He knows he wasn't ready, and you know he wasn't ready, Frankie. The Jets dodged a bullet here. Now, in terms of the future for this team, I don't think Aaron Glenn is getting any more leeway here. How about you?
Yeah, I don't think he is, man. I really don't. I don't think he can get any more leeway after the season we just saw. I mean, this is going to put more pressure on Aaron Glenn to figure out how he's going to get decent quarterback play to save his job too. Now the options become a little bit more bare when you take the second overall pick, which everyone kind of slated him to be, out of the picture. So yeah, Ryan, that's totally true. This is not a, like a get out of jail free card with, I got Dante Moore, let me leave me off the hook here. You know what I was hoping he was going to say though? This is what I thought he was going to say. Ready? I wrote this up. Ready? I want to give glory to God for giving me the free will to not go to the New York Jets. That's what Dante Moore said. I want to give glory to God for giving me the free will to not go to the New York Jets. I disagree with Kaz there a little bit. I do. I wasn't going to get into it with him there. He has his opinion. And I'm not saying I'm 100% right on my opinion. Anyway, it's not a fact. It's just an opinion. But I do think there was something there when they sat down with their camp, and maybe they got in touch with the Raiders. The Raiders said, hey, all signs are leading to Mendoza. Maybe we're not going to tell you for sure, but we're probably going to get this guy. The Jets were going to be where he was going to probably fall. And I do think with the way that this franchise has conducted business over the last 10, 15, 20 years, you can't blame a kid for saying, I don't want to go there. They ruined Sam Darnold. And now he's the 1 seed in the NFC. Zach Wilson got destroyed there. Maybe he never had it. Regardless, they haven't been able to develop a quarterback. And they have a defensive guy there who's looked like a disaster, not to mention the media. People don't want to live in New York anymore like they used to. Taxes and stuff, those are little things, but still, it's not what it used to be, especially coming here. And that probably did weigh on him a little bit, I'm sure. I don't know that, but everyone's like, oh, well, why would you want to go to the Raiders? Listen, go to Vegas, sit down in a room with Tom Brady, and look at that stadium and tell me that's not a little bit more attractive than coming here. It just is. Flat out. It just is. So it's not a popular destination. Now, with that said, I think with the NIL situation, Ryan, the portal, they're going to get a lot of kids wanting to come and play with Dante Moore. He's going to be Showtime next year, prime time. So they're going to want to go play there. They just got their other tight end. Sadiq's coming out, but their other tight end said he's returning. Jamari Johnson, who's really good. You're going to get some quality kids in that portal, some receivers and tight ends and backs that want to go play with that guy in Oregon. And obviously what Dan Lanning's doing there, he's got one of the better programs, if not, the best program in football right now outside of Indiana. It's right there. So, listen, was the decision surprising? Yeah, but it's not crazy. He needs time. He can do it where he's comfortable. And, Nick said something, and I'm curious on your opinion on this. The human element here. He's a young kid. He's in college.
Yeah.
College is fun. He's there. He's used to it.
I'm going to make years old, Frankie. He's not even old enough to drink.
Yeah, he has 19 starts, not even 20. Exactly. He's not even old enough to drink, man. I'm good. I'm going to make $7 million. I'll be fine. I'll get myself together, and when I'm ready, I'll come out. And I don't want to go to the Jets or the Cardinals or the Browns.
Well, I don't know if it's look. No matter
I think it has something to do with it a little, though.
But here's the thing: he can't control next year if he's another top pick.
True.
And there's a team. If the crappy teams are always picking at the top, you cannot control where you go in the draft. It's just plain and simple. As much as we like to talk about these prospects, thinking like, "Oh, I'm never going to the Jets. I'm never going to the Cardinals," buddy. If they want to draft you, they're drafting you. There's no way around it. And look, I'll say this. He's playing a massive risk in terms of his potential for the future. If he has a year like Nussmeier, and if he has a year like Drew Aller, he's going to tank his value, and he's not going to be a top pick, and he's not going to make that $50 million guaranteed. But I agree with you. In his long-term future, he's going to be a quarterback in the NFL most likely next year in the draft. He's going to be somewhere. And I don't know if he's going to be a better prospect, if he's going to be a better player. I think he probably will be a better player next year, and it's going to help him tremendously. And who's to say the New York Jets aren't picking 1 or 2 again next year because they don't have enough talent, and they end up taking Dante Moore because he ends up being an absolute stud. So again, it could be a home run for them, but all I know is the fact that you're not forcing the pick, and you're not forcing a quarterback on this staff, and you're not forcing a quarterback that's young and inexperienced. I've been there, done that, man. We saw Zach Wilson. We saw it with Sam Darnold not surrounding him with the right people. This Jets team, they need to have a veteran quarterback. I know it's crazy. They need a veteran quarterback that they can get the shit beaten out of him, and he can go out there and he can throw some touchdowns and run a pro-style offense, and hopefully have this team finally play with a lead in a game and not have their team and their offense just look absolutely inept. I'm sick and tired of watching this Jets offense be the worst in the NFL. It looks like they're playing a different sport every single week, Frankie, when they're out there, because they haven't had any adequate quarterback play. So if they can get a veteran in here like a Mac Jones, I would trade for him in a heartbeat. Go get a Mac Jones. Go sign or trade for a Jacoby Brissett. Go get, honestly, Kirk Cousins. If you want to get Kirk Cousins in here, I'm all about that. Like, let him be in his swan song last 3 years of his career. Yeah, because he can lead an offense. He can bring respectability.
Your offensive coordinator too.
Exactly. You can call the offense you want to call and not tailor it around a guy who doesn't have strengths that you want in your offense. That's the part I'm talking about. If you pick a quarterback like a Justin Fields or a Malik Willis who doesn't have all the traits you want for your style of offense you're trying to play, then why the hell are you forcing that? Go find the quarterback you want. I know it's not easy because teams usually don't let quarterbacks go that they like. But you have to be able to give up assets to find that right quarterback, whether it's through drafting them or signing them with a lot of cap space or trading for one.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Rye. I want to read something from one of my favorite NFL draft sites. If you guys ever want to dive in, gals, you want to dive into some good draft analysis, NFL Draft Buzz, I think he does a really good job. Too many ads, way too many ads. And when I pop this thing on my computer, my screen starts freezing. Enough with these ads, guys, all right? Because I probably shouldn't have shouted you out with the amount of damn ads I got to go through here. But I'm just going to go through the weaknesses of Dante Moore, and you can just tell by the weaknesses that A, he wasn't going to start from day one here. B, we would have had an issue developing him here. And C, maybe it was in his best interest to go back. Let me just read these quickly. Short passing, because consistency remains a problem. Struggling with timing and accuracy on quick slants and bubble screen that require instantaneous ball delivery. Has trouble with that. Rushing ability grades poorly across the board. Virtually offers zero run threat. Frame and build raise legitimate durability concerns about absorbing punishment from NFL caliber edge rushers throughout a 17-game schedule. He's played 19 games as his whole career started. Decision-making under heavy pressure occasionally reverts to concerning patterns, forcing throws into coverage when progressions break down and escape routes disappear. Fourth option's not there. Athletic limitations become apparent when forced to extend plays with his legs, lacking the burst to consistently scramble for meaningful yardage outside structure. Does that sound like somebody that we want to, try to develop right now? Listen, the arm is great. If you look at the strengths, he's got a ton. Lightning quick release, his processing speed when it's good is great. Downfield accuracy is very good. He could put the ball anywhere. Again, I kind of just described a Zach Wilson in a way. I really did. And there's a time and a place to take a quarterback like Dante Moore. I don't think it's now for the New York Jets. I don't. I really think there is going to be the right time to take a project quarterback, and I don't think this staff right now is the one to do it. They're not going to be able to develop a quarterback like this at this point.
No, not with this coaching staff. I don't trust them, and I know you don't either.
No, I don't. And
One thing I
They
do
got-
want to So one thing I do want to ask you, Frankie, is do you think the Raiders are no matter what taking Mendoza, or would they even entertain the idea of trading the number 1 pick to the Jets for 2 and 16, or 2 in one of next year's ones?
Listen, it's unlikely, but they don't have a head coach right now. So I don't know what they're going to do with the head coach. They might get a coach that wants Malik Willis, and they might. Who knows? I'm just saying,
Or Kyler Murray,
or Kyler Murray, or any of or any of these guys. They might want to look at the trade market. Maybe a coach comes here and they want to bring their guy over from wherever, or someone they knew in college. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen there. Cliff Kingsbury might go there and he might want Kyler. I'm just saying, situations like that are potentially at play here. Doesn't seem likely, but it's not impossible. It's still early. We'll get a clearer picture here come March when free agency hits. We'll know, where the Raiders stand with quarterback. If they're not really bringing anyone in, or it seems like they're just bringing in a backup, they're going to take Mendoza. But if they go and they pay Malik Willis a bunch of money, or they trade for a veteran that's startable, things could get a little more interesting. I think the Jets should call the Raiders
just to see what the ask would be.
Yeah. You don't know. Just because you both need a quarterback doesn't mean that they value Mendoza as high as you may. You may value
Mendoza Geno under contract next year, don't they?
They do, for another 2 years, technically. They have an out, but they do. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
but they're not going to be picking number 1 again probably next year. So,
yeah. You're rooting, and I hate saying this, you're basically rooting for Mendoza to shit the bed in the final.
I think he's going number 1 no matter what.
Saying him, yeah, but I'm
I know, but I think he's going 1 no matter what. It doesn't matter. He's going
number 1
for
1 yard, and he's going.
He solidified himself, Heisman winner, and all that. The one interesting question here again, too, I want to touch on Christian. Christian asks Frankie, maybe take Ty Simpson with the Colts pick at 16. I don't hate that idea, just because, again, Simpson, while he has less experience than Dante Moore, which is even scarier to propose for the Jets to develop, I would argue this is a guy who, and this is something you had brought up yesterday, really bad run game for the Alabama, which is not, it's typical for an Alabama offense. So he didn't have much surrounding him. Ryan Williams had a down year at receiver. They did not have enough weapons probably for Ty Simpson to play with, and didn't have a great offensive line to play with. But the moments that you did up until that mid-October moment, Ty Simpson was starting to look like a top 5 pick. And he was looking like, could this guy be better than Dante Moore? He showed signs, he did. I think the ability is there. I think he still has to sit and learn and develop. I know that's kind of hypocritical, or talking on both sides of my mouth when I say Dante Moore can't develop here. Why the hell would you take Ty Simpson and trust him to develop here? But there's less pressure when you're 16, or let's say he slips to 33 for some reason. If you take him at 16, though, there's less pressure on him to start right away and develop. So I wonder, would that be an option for the Jets at 16 with Ty Simpson?
I think it would. He's a very difficult quarterback to put your finger on. You can make an argument that he should be taken in the top 15. You can make an argument that he's a 4th rounder too. I seriously, I mean, that's how extreme it is with him. We'll learn more as the process plays out. If he does kill his interviews and people love him on the chalkboard,
son of a coach. He's
gonna kill that. By the way, that's gonna be where he really shines on that chalkboard there, that whiteboard, whatever. That'll be something that will propel his stock a bit. And then you look at his tape; he's extremely accurate at times, but for some reason, and I don't know why, he was not that accurate over his last 4 or 5 games. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was banged up.
He was banged up. He's dealing with an injury, so that probably had something to do with it. Wasn't getting much help.
He turned the ball over a lot, though, and he fumbled the ball a lot, too.
Yeah, he's not an overly imposing quarterback, too, with his traits. I mean, it's not like he's some freak back there where he's going to make guys miss and buy all this time. But if you're that accurate, you could Drew Brees your way, through the NFL and be an all-timer. So, I mean, accuracy you can't teach sometimes.
Aaron Glenn was in New Orleans for a long time with Drew Brees. So I'm going to say.
That's a good point. Yeah. You put the tape on, you see a little bit. When he does, nobody in this draft makes better throws that look NFL worthy than probably Ty Simpson when he's cooking. Like, he looks like a quarterback. The way he finds those lanes, the way he pulls back, he has that release. He looks a little bit like Brett Favre and Rodgers a little bit back there. Or this one like Rodgers, not Favre. I don't know what Brett Favre popped up. But speaking of Brett Favre, you know who I like? I'm gonna maybe hop on this train soon. I'm not ready yet. I love me some John Mateer, man.
Okay.
I really do. Later on, not early, later on. I think that guy in the quarterback room, because that guy's got some Favre to him. Little spunk, kind of got a little Baker Mayfield there. I think he'd be good for that room. Now, I'm not saying John Mateer, I'm ever slating to be a starter here, but I think John Mateer, he'll bring it. He'll bring it in practice, and you better watch your back, whoever that starter is, because I'm coming for you, and I think you need that in that room. Where the Jets failed this year, and we spoke about it yesterday, and we've been bringing it up, Ryan, with Kaz a bunch. They just gave Justin Fields the keys to be the sure thing day one starter.
Yeah.
You can't preach competition everywhere but the quarterback. It's not how it should be.
Yeah, I think no matter what, though, when they take this rookie quarterback in this draft, I don't think he's going to be in open competition with that rookie. I think it's the veteran's job, probably. Maybe it's the other veteran they bring in, like Kaz said, that they go two veterans, whether it's through free agency, in trade, or both. I think the rookie will probably be the third string quarterback on this roster and have to earn his playing time and really sit behind these guys and learn how to play the position. But look, I think this is for me. I want to wrap up our final thoughts here about Dante Moore deciding to stay in Oregon. What this means for the Jets, though, Frankie, means that they don't have to force, again, the pick at number 2. They could take the best player available at number 2, probably a high impact player, you would hope, whether it's Arvell Reese, Ruben Baines. They take the wide receiver from Arizona State. For some reason I keep forgetting his name. It's
Jordan Tyson.
Thank you. Jordan Tyson. Yeah. Carnell Tate's name will be mentioned up there in the top 5. I don't think they would ever take Jeremiah from Notre Dame, the running back. I don't think they would take him at 2. I did hear his name potentially at 16 if he fell, if you don't bring back Breece Hall, which would be interesting to bring him in.
Yeah, it would. We'll know by then. Free agency would have passed. We'll know where Breece is. So
no matter what, though, the Jets have to position themselves where they have to take that best player or 2. Then we'll see what happens in the rest of the draft. But right now, we know for a fact Dante Moore is going back to Oregon. He will not be a New York Jet this year in the NFL draft.
Man, listen, it's just it's tough being a Jets fan. Now, I'm glad this happened, but I can understand the optics around this. I mean, quarterback slated to go second overall usually don't say, hey, you know what, I'm going back. With that said, I tweeted this. I think we dodged a Zach Wilson situation all over again. I really do. I think it would have been the exact same thing. Literally, it would have been a carbon copy of what happened with us and Zach. Except they probably wouldn't have started him week 1, although they may have. But it would have been, it would have went somewhere that didn't have all the things that this kid needs to become an NFL quarterback and a leader in the locker room. That's something else. I mean, like the Jets, they need leaders, man. And it usually starts at the quarterback. You can find leaders elsewhere. Ray Lewis was a leader at linebacker, so you can always find it. But we need someone, man. And it'd be nice if it was the quarterback because they have so much power. And they affect more than anyone in sports. They affect your win-loss column more than any position in sports. So it'd be nice to come from there. But that's what the Jets need to look at. So when I look at guys like, and we're going to discuss this all offseason, I want guys like John Mateer in this room. I want Jordan Tyson's competitive SOBs that are going to come in and they're going to bring it to the vets and they're going to want to take people's jobs. And I think to what you just said, yeah, you bring in a veteran and you let the rookie beat him out. If you're going to draft Trinidad Chambliss, say, beat out the veteran. Go ahead, like Russell Wilson did with Matt Flynn. Beat him out. Like Jackson Dart did this year with Russell Wilson. Beat him out. Beat out these guys. You'll find someone eventually. And listen, this is not going to be bad forever. Like, we're in 15 years. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but
I can't believe you're saying that right now. We're not
the
going
law
to be
of
bad
averages.
forever.
I mean, listen, we're not going to be bad forever. What do you think? This team's going to be bad for 30 years?
Have you seen the owner? Have you seen what the decisions have been made?
No, but like,
it's not good.
Listen,
Frankie.
I think today was a step in the right rebuilding direction. You know, like we can properly rebuild by getting players and not, oh, we got Dante Moore. We're just going to wait. This draft was great. Look, we got Dante Moore. Screw it. No. Now you got to do your homework. Now Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn got to go there to One Jets Drive, freaking put the tape on, and figure out who is the best player in this draft. It's not Mendoza because he's gone. That's it. You have all the keys right now to make it, and you have 16, and you have 33, and you got 44, and you got 3 next year, first rounders. Do your damn homework, and if you can't, you should be fired. And that's it. Right? No one's got it better than us with picks.
No one's got it better than us with picks, but the Jets have not hit on a quarterback since Joe Willie Namath, Frankie, and that's a long time for you to say, yeah, the law of averages will say. It's been 60 friggin' years, dude. They haven't hit on a quarterback since. So, look, I think they have to take more swings at the quarterback position. I think they've been very
they should have took one last year.
Yeah, I think they've been very conservative recently when taking quarterbacks. Besides the Zach Wilson pick at 2, that was a force, obviously. But if you don't, in my opinion, if you take a quarterback this year, don't let it deter you from taking a quarterback in the first round next year. Like, continue to take swings until that guy comes in and wins you football games, and you're like, that's our guy right there. You know it when you see it. You do. Like, the Vikings are in a no man's land right now with J.J. McCarthy. They know that he's probably not a good starting quarterback, and they took him high in the first round. So, like, but you got to take more swings. That's one guy I would love to bring here. If Kevin O'Connell somehow got blown up here in Minnesota, God, the Jets would be awesome to bring him in. Him or Mike Tomlin next year. I'm already looking forward to the next head coach.
I just love how, like, if you look at past drafts, you got like Jaden Daniels being drafted Drake May 3rd. You got like year after year, you just have, a bunch of quarterbacks.
And this draft is god awful. Worse.
It's one. There's one guy, and that one guy's not even great of a first over. Yeah.
Think about last year though, Frankie. Last year was just thought of like Cam Ward, Shador Sanders was supposed to be a top 10 pick. Jackson Dart was like a second round pick for most of the lead up in the process, and then the Giants might take him in the first. It ended up being just Cam and Jackson Dart, and they're both. I mean, Jackson Dart looks legit. I mean, I know you don't like him, but like Cam Ward, we'll see what happens. But this is a worse class. The Jets are in the worst possible spot. That's the funny part. Mike Tannenbaum wants to sell. The Jets are in a great spot. You say this right now. The Jets are in a great spot with these picks. Are they? Are they in a great spot right now? They're picking two. They're picking two. They're picking 2 with no definitive player that is a must get at 2. This is a terrible draft in terms of like high end talent. There's no Jamar Chase of the world. There's no Micah Parsons in the world. There's no Abdul Carter in this draft. This is a god awful draft in terms of top high end talent. But the good GMs and the good coaches, you know what they do, Frankie? They find the players and they develop them. But I don't trust this head coach to find the right and develop the right guys, though.
There is one player in this draft that is worthy of the number 2 pick, not Fernando Mendoza. There is one player, and we brought him up a ton, that if he's healthy is absolutely worth the number 2 pick. And that player is Jordan Tyson. If he's healthy, that's a big if. But if he's going to be healthy in the NFL, Jordan Tyson will give you top 5 wide receiver value. I really believe that. Now, I don't know if he's going to be healthy, and that sucks because you're taking a massive risk there. The other thing we can look at, the tackles in this draft, we'll talk about it later, but there's some really nice tackles. We don't need a tackle. But another idea, we need a left guard. That kid, Francis Muaga from Miami, I threw this out there to Jeff fans. What if you draft him and put him at left guard? Now, drafting a guard at 2nd overall is crazy.
No, that'll never happen.
Go pretty high. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, you put him there. I'm not saying at 2. Let's say you trade back from 2. A team really wants Ruben Bain. You go back.
Why not take Ruben Bain at 2? You need an edge rusher.
The problem with Ruben Bain is his traits are a little bit off.
So why is the team going to trade up for valuable assets at 2 to go get him?
Maybe a team like the Ravens or the Eagles might like a player like that. They got a stacked defense. He's super tough. Can play outside and
trade
inside.
Up from their pick all the way up to 2.
No, I'm saying a team like that has a defense that they have a lot of. Like this defense is just starting. Like we're rebuilding a whole defense.
So take
defense
Ruben Bain.
Well seasoned. Ruben Bain, I think. Yeah. I mean, listen, it's not a bad idea. I'm just saying, Ryan,
Take
like,
Arvell Reese, take him. He's a pass
yeah.
rusher and linebacker. You need both of those things.
Yeah, but you cannot justify any of these picks we're talking about right now being a second overall worthy pick.
That's what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
to you. So
you're right.
all this
you're
talk
right.
of the Jets are in a great spot. Bullshit, they're in a great
With that
spot
pick,
right
they're in
now.
a great spot, but like they're in a really good spot for 27. They
For
are
27, sure, but like
know.
right now they are not in a good spot. That's
Yeah,
why everyone's
I mean-
down right now. That's why I think a lot of Jets fans are down right now, because the hope at least would have been there with Dante Moore. But you and I see through all that where it's like, no. Dante Moore was not ready to play. And he would have been forced at that pick, and he would have been in a really tough spot. The pressure would have been on him. The pressure would have been on Glenn. He probably wouldn't have developed and wouldn't have worked out here. He would have looked like a disaster, would have looked like a disastrous pick, and it just would have been god awful. But now you really get to put the test of skills and wit to Glenn and Muji and say, find a good player too. Find a very good player too. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, dude, this is going to be a long off season, but it's going to be a very, very, very important off season.
Very important off season.
These moves are either going to save jobs or they're going to create new jobs for new people in 27. So they better understand the volatility here when it comes to security at One Jets Drive, because what Rich had reported, Woody Johnson didn't show up to those last 3 games for a reason. And
Would you, if your team was that bad?
I mean, listen, if I had a nice suite, I had some Vouv champagne, I'm showing up. You know, it's my team. I'm going to be there.
Team is tanking. That was Frankie. That was unwatchable football. No one wants to watch that. Not even the owner. So
I love how someone in the comments goes, Ryan, awesome. The Jets tanked for Arvell Reese. Dude, I'll say this. If they draft Arvell Reese, we're doing our draft parties. No. I'm freaking out. I do not want Arvell Reese.
I don't know why.
He cannot rush the passer consistently. 6.5 sacks. The year before he had a half. He's good. He's a very good defensive player. I'm not ripping Arvell Reese.
I think you're ripping him right now.
I want an edge that if it's 3rd and 10, I'm betting my money on that guy. That's Ruben or David Bailey. I'm betting my money on that
David
guy.
Bailey I like a lot. I would take David Bailey.
He's interesting. I don't know if he's too overall worthy, because
any of these guys
weird kind of the way he moves in space is weird. He doesn't wear gloves. He looks like a basketball player out there sometimes. Like it looks like he just learned how to play football, but that's not a bad thing because he's a freak.
Guy's a freak, and he also has high-end production.
Listen, someone just commented Ruben Bain. I love Ruben Bain, FYI. He plays football exactly like I love to play football, and I appreciate it. He's got short arms, and tackles are going to freaking grab onto this guy. He's going to have trouble getting those arms. He has a real arm length issue. Some scouts have him as a D tackle. Now, I'm a little bit contradicting myself because last year, the same thing happened with Will Campbell, but it's different. I think a tackle can get away with it, and we've seen it. Bain is going to have some issues in meetings trying to answer those questions about what are you going to do when the 6'7" guy gets his long paws on you? Are you going to be able to get off him? Because he likes contact. He'll come right at a tackle. Ruben Bain is non-apologetic when he plays.
That's the type of mentality you want in a player.
I like it. I do.
So take Ruben Bain, take David Bailey, take that defensive player, playmaker. I think Arvell Reese is the pick at 2 ultimately, just because he's that hybrid player that can do it all on the field for you. And that's exactly what this Jets defense needs. A playmaker, baller, just like guy. Not to mention, he's coming from a pro-style defense. Matt Patricia calls pro-style defenses. And that's the type of guy you need in this team. He's a leader, and he's a guy you're going to want hungry out there on your defense, going after, and he hunts the ball. Like he just like Caleb Downs. They want to go after the ball. So we'll see.
I'm with you.
We'll see. Listen, Jets fans, we appreciate you guys as always for hopping on here on the live stream for Gangs All Here. Look, we're going to be doing a lot of these throughout the offseason as we get more and more news throughout the weeks and months leading up to the draft itself. But listen, Dante Moore is going back to school. One less quarterback option for the Jets in this draft. They're not going to force that pick at number 2. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you think the Jets dodged a bullet, or if you think that, no, they're screwed now, that they tanked ultimately for Arvell Reese. That's Gangs All Here. I'm Ryan Sampson. That's Frankie Vitorini from U Stadium.
Make sure to like the stream, everybody. Like the stream and subscribe to the channel, please.
Well said. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time. As always, Jets fans,